Hi. I've looked at some people's work, like things that you've done over the week. Anybody else that has something we can share? Can you pull out the
cat. This one.
Yeah. This is nice. This is nice drawing. It's not using your three-dimensional shapes at all, which is okay. Which is kind of what I was doing. These do. This is really nice. Look at this.
This was,
I want to get over to
bottle was really hard to do.
wine bottle, but
wow.
look at
Neat.
this one in the
Yeah,
middle.
yeah.
This is very,
Best I've ever seen.
very
Wow.
nice.
Yeah.
That has a nice solid. It feels like that.
Well, I
good
had to
illusion.
get coaching on that one
Oh.
from my artist husband because it wasn't correct initially.
And he helped you with it. Very nice. This, I don't know if you can see, but it's from the animal.
Yeah.
Sorry,
back.
it's in the back. I sent out some pictures of an animal, and it's a little cub. When I see when I'm looking at this, and it's, I'm not criticizing the way of drawing contour drawing. That's just the outline and stuff, and that's how we learn a lot. But we're trying to push beyond and think more three-dimensionally to really get a solid three-dimensional feel to our drawings. So I told Leland we kind of, what I did really quickly here is I took and put that little, I can never stand in a good spot, the cub into the body of cube, you know, and then I kind of did the cube area for the legs so I would know where the legs are going back in space. Then kind of a sphere and a cone for the nose. That's a little long for a cub. It looks more like a dog on mine. But if you think these three-dimensional shapes and you combine them, here, you know, here is the body and the head. It's going to give you a more solid form in your drawing, and it's going to help you with your shading and putting it into space rather than just trying to figure out that outline. So you start here with the shapes, and then you can go, I mean, okay, that's generally it, but his butt kind of comes down a little bit, you know, and then there's his back leg, but then you're drawing it around the shape that you originally had there that's already a nice, solid 3D form. Yeah, thanks for sharing it. And kind of with this, that flower is not a good, it's not a good example. I was going for the vase when I grabbed this particular image. I go online and grab things, which you can do. So, did you get the printouts I sent?
I have a feeling I didn't get any hidden animals. Animals?
The animals were in the very first one that she sent. I
Way,
believe.
way back, it was a, yeah.
There were, I think there were three printouts, there were three print attachments, and one was basic drawing, and the other one were all pictures like a clock and stuff, and then all these animals.
Just reference things that you can refer to when you
Yeah.
get back.
Yeah, I didn't-
So, we'll try to first, photos.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. The shading, open this up, sheet that I sent you,
I left it at home.
that looks like this one,
Yeah.
right? That, I sent that, and then I sent, the first page of this, I think. Is that the
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just some things you can practice, and you see, I step way back and I start with these simple forms. And as people are saying, it's boring to draw these forms. But we can see as we project them onto something else or combine these forms to make something else, it's going to be more that illusion of a three-dimensional object on a flat surface. And if you find yourself just doing the outline, you go like, oh, no, I need to think three-dimensionally, because that's what we're in, is a three-dimensional world. On this sheet, it's kind of a review as I went down through, beginning with the good solid forms. I have on the sheet a grayscale These are your values. And if you go toward the dark, this is your shades. And as you head over to the light, it's basically a tint. And you can do this with any color, like when you get into color, you can start with a bright red, and then it goes darker and darker towards black. It becomes more like brick, and then dark brown, and you go this way, it starts becoming pink. But in just shading, we usually want to get a good range of values between white and black. Try to do that. If we get a minimum of 4 values, that's pretty good. But if we can push for more, it's even better. Most people refer to white as 1 and 10 and black as 10. Some people do it opposite. I learned it 1 to 10, and some people say this is 10, maybe because of the amount of light, and I haven't figured out how they think that way, because I was trained so long this other way. I put a couple things in here. Chiaroscuro is just light dark. That's an Italian word, means light dark. So it's the combination of dark and light beside each other. Creates contrast. In paintings and drawings, if something, say you have perfect mountains, right, in this area. So if the mountains are close up, and we know that in reality, we have a mountain we're on, we have the next mountain, and the next mountain, and in reality, they're all the same kind of trees, contrast, shading, and light. But in the atmosphere, because there's more humidity and atmosphere between us and what's in the distance, that contrast of light and dark is going to soften, right? And actually become more blue, because blue has a longer wavelength and travels further. So mountain near us is going to have, some white posts on it and some black shades under the trees or something like that. But as we go back, that white post becomes maybe a little softer. It's not quite white. And the black is not quite, because of that atmosphere in between. So as we go into the distance, our value range lessens. It becomes a little more controlled. So if you're doing something in the distance, do a lot of contrast and detail up front, and as it goes back, soften it, let it fade back. It's actually called aerial perspective, A-E-R-I-A-L, aerial. And then this is just beyond that, is just kind of review. I printed up the sheet so you can practice. Is that the one I sent you? Yeah, I guess it is. So you can practice shading at home when you don't have our wonderful setup here. This is, what's today? 17?
19th.
19. Oh, gosh.
Close.
I don't know, somewhere in there. Okay. So, what I'd like to do first is do a quick little review drawing of what we have here. I've done this a little differently. You don't have to draw both of the balls. I just kind of did it on each side because we were using that as our measurement. Can you see if that's in the, that's not, because it's higher
It's
up, isn't
not,
it? No,
yeah.
that's okay. It won't tilt.
Okay,
That's it. None good. So,
yeah.
can we take about, I want to say 5 minutes, but that's really fast, isn't it? And these are a lot of objects. I'm going to remove this one. Gone. So if you draw 3 of the objects, the sphere, the cube, and the cone, from wherever you are,
Would you mind moving that chair over here?
I will not mind
Thank
moving
you.
it. I know, I try to walk around and notice things, but
That's perfect,
I
thank
don't always
you.
get it. Notice I moved all my stuff off. All right, so yeah, just whatever you're gonna start with, remember how we use a unit of measure when we do the comparison. Remember, you keep on your cube especially, those side lines have to be vertical. It's gonna throw it off if those are tilting. because all of the other angles are relationship to that vertical line, what angle it goes off at. Nice. And look at you guys trying, yeah, very nice. And this I can see right off the bat, it's getting larger as it
I
goes
know,
away.
I'm going bigger because everything looks like I'm my circles like that.
So remember, if this is that angle,
Mm-hmm,
you've got this one matching, then this one has to match it too.
yeah. Okay,
And the same as these, you have this angle, but then this one is going up further than that already, and then this one's going up even further. So the box is getting larger as it goes away from you instead of.
See, I always have trouble with that.
It's looking good. Let's see. Yeah, because you're actually even seeing less and trying to look at your.
Less, probably.
No, it's about right, not too much, but close. And again, if you just move like, lean to one side to the other, it's gonna change how it looks. That's why often the artist will squint one eye. Because with your stereoscopic vision, it's going to affect it. But then you have to be careful not to move. Wait, that's hard.
I like slouched a little bit.
You started
The
up here
amount
and
that
then-
I like could see of the top of the cube change. I was like, what's going on?
It's like, why is this
It
different?
was like a barely slouched.
A bit. But that's all right. I mean, we're not, this is a fine art class. This is not like architectural drawing. We have to have it measured absolutely perfect. These are good. Very good. Nice. Okay, I'm gonna move on, if that's okay. Good solid forms. Something looks a little off and I'm not quite sure
The
what.
box is off,
Yeah.
and it's, because this isn't a square.
Oh,
it
and you're
should be-
drawing?
Yeah,
Yeah, it might have gotten too
high up here or something,
high. You got it maybe to here.
there,
And then
okay,
that's
too
square,
tall.
and then this has to be perpendicular to that. These are, I mean, parallel.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would, just a hint, just a
Yeah,
hint
no,
up.
that's great, that really helps,
All right, shading.
because it's habitual.
You'll have to do this again.
Yeah.
In shading, I learned this mantra quite young. And even now, when I shade something, I repeat this to make sure I have the basic elements of shading. In shading something, it depends on the light. And I use the sphere a lot as a good general form. I can't, I'm trying to get between people. Ask me to
okay.
move.
It's all
No, I
right,
mean
don't
for you
worry.
guys to see.
We're fine, don't worry.
All right, so the light's coming down, it's gonna hit the sphere, and it's gonna create, I did a balloon, there's never a balloon around it, there's no outline around a highlight, just to let you know. And I'll, quick little hint, I'll show you when I get up here, the best way to make one is to put in a light shading and then erase out the highlight. So you have your highlight. On the opposite side of the object is the darkest area that receives the least amount of light. That is your core shadow on the object. In an object, it follows the shape of the object, as does the highlight. See how it was a little bit of a crescent? And here it's a bit of a crescent. Reflected light is when this light comes down, hits the surface beside the object and bounces back. So usually that's why this core rarely goes all the way to the edge. Again, this outline here is imaginary, it's not really there. It doesn't go all the way because of that reflected light in there. I did this color coded this time, I thought that was so cool. And then you have your cast shadow, which is very dark. Now, where the core shadow comes and the cast shadow kind of go together, they almost blend together because they're both very dark. So if you learn highlight, core, reflected light, shadow, highlight, core, reflected light, shadow, then you'll get those elements into your shading. And again, we're doing it on these simple three-dimensional objects, but as we saw earlier, you can combine objects and make anything from a house to an animal to a person Yeah, just bring it back to its basic form. All right, I'm gonna have the light coming just from here, partially because I'm right-handed and that's a comfortable way for me to get the light from. So with a sphere, the light is coming here. This is gonna be my highlight area. My core area, nice. I should have checked this before I started using it. My core area is gonna be following the shape away from the highlight. Sorry about those horrible lines there. Down around. Now notice, you remember how we did just the line and we made it darker at the base to make it look like it had weight? Now we're doing that kind of with the shading. So where the highlight is, it's going to be very light. I often will put some color off to the side, pick it up, and blend it in here. I'll do it a little deeper so you can see it a little better. And then you can blend if you want. See, already it's looking like a nice sphere. Then as the light comes down, it's going to bounce off that edge and bounce off this edge. So you're going to know where your shadow's going to be. I'm going to have it come up pretty tight here. So this shadow, boom, is going to come off over this way. So there's my cast shadow from the shape of the object. And because if we were looking directly down on the image, the ball from above, your shadow would be a circle. But because we're looking at an angle, it becomes an ellipse. This would be fairly dark because there's no reflected light right here. But there is reflected light off to the side. So over here there's a little reflected light. That's why I like, see, I can just touch that and now I've got reflected light happening in there. So there is more or less, not perfection, you know, I could spend more time and work on it a little more, but there's the highlight up here. Oh, I was going to erase that for you too. Use my kneaded eraser. I can just follow that and you'll, nice highlight there without the bubble around it. Highlight, the core, the reflected light, and the shadow. And then in between, I mean, there's a slow gradation going up this way, right? But your core is going to follow the shape, and I've exaggerated that so you can see it a little more. But then it blends up slowly, so you have all those nice even gradations of light. Should I continue on? I'll do cube.
Not quite good.
You want to get it down? Okay. Nice and solid. It doesn't feel like I borrowed this from a friend and I ordered one for myself, but the one I ordered is rechargeable, so there's no cord. But it won't come until like tomorrow or the next day. So. Next week, get to try my new lamp. Now, if you're doing this, superimposing it on the drawing you've already done, we're ignoring what's happening here, which is okay. And there's also cast like shadows that fall on other objects. Yes.
I cannot get this cube. I've tried 2 or 3 different things already. Something's wrong with my angles, but I can't figure out what. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think
Yeah,
that
you're almost at, can I have 1 point perspective? So this, I mean, normally these are parallel, but it's going back so quickly they converge a little bit. And by doing that, that will help that. And you see a little bit of this side and nothing of that other side.
okay.
Can you see how that top angle going back is going?
Like, I was trying to compare the ball top to the line at the top of
Yeah.
the cube, but
That's pretty close. You're not very far.
Thanks.
Of course, you're down further than I am too, so no, you're very
Yeah,
close.
I'm down further all the time. Everywhere I go.
Oh, no.
At 5 feet.
I didn't know that. Sitting here, I thought you were. All right, cube. It's kind of easier. The light's coming from the, we'll say it's coming not from the side, but from the top. So our highlight is going to be on that top. The core is going to be on the side away from the light. Where this side, the light's coming down, it's going to bounce off the table, bounce back up. So it's going to not receive direct light, but it's going to have, oh gosh. It's going to be a little lighter because it's reflected light in there as compared to the side that's not getting any light. And again, you would figure out where the light's bouncing off these corners, down here, off down in this direction. See, I'm just the direction of the light, and I'm following that down to the shadow, where the shadow of the corner of the box is. It comes off there, and it comes off there. And then, there's my shadow. And the core, because some of this light's going to bounce back on this side a little bit, maybe, a little on this side. So again, we have our highlight, our core, our reflected light area, and our shadow. And by putting that on these forms, it gives us a really strong three-dimensional feeling. Is this yours? Or is that on the ground? Is that yours?
It's not mine.
I wasn't sure what it was from the distance. So you're doing, this is cross-hatching, you know
Yeah.
that? Yep.
Yeah, it's a charcoal pencil, but I forgot to get charcoal.
No, that's all right. You can do it. Sometimes if you sharpen, you can
And I
also
have one of these things.
lay it down on a blending stick.
Mhm.
Is this charcoal or is this graphite?
Oh, is it graphite?
I don't know. No, I think it is charcoal. It has a coating on it, so you'd want to get that off. Can I show you?
Mhm.
You can try to lay this down
Oh, yeah.
a little more on its
Mhm.
side.
Okay,
So you're getting that whole
Mhm.
angle of that.
thank you.
I forgot we shortened it.
That's all right. You get to draw another one. No
Yeah.
worries.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty
There's
more in my
plenty more.
future.
This is one of those things that it never hurts to go back and review it, because
Yeah.
we get out of practice, we forget, we get shortcuts going in our head, and sometimes it's good to step way back and start very simply. It's like, I think it's like dancers. I mean, you have a professional ballet dancer, they still go back to the bar and do their basic exercises before they
Music
dance.
too.
And
Music,
music, your scales.
Yep.
We always go back to the basics. Artists seem to think, you know, not all, but many, just like, oh, I know how to do that, I'll just. It's good sometimes just to sit down and do the super basics again. Now you can kind of see where the next things are going. A cone and a cylinder are this kind of the same. I'm going to start with the core on the cone. It's going to kind of follow the shape of the cone. There's going to be more of it at the bottom, a little less going up toward the top. A little reflected light on this side. the highlight is also going to follow the shape of the object. Make that a little darker over here. Some shading there, erase out the highlight. And then the shadow takes on this shape of the object. So even the shadows basically come. This is super simplified, because we always get so many areas where it bounces back and forth, the light bounces around the room. This is horrendous for drawing. We have 6, 9, 12 light sources to try to see shading. Very complex. And the same on the cylinder. Of course, it's not graduated, so it's just straight down. And this in a little bit, highlight on the top.
Oh,
I brought my drawing tools today. I'm so proud of myself. I remembered them.
Your Band-Aid is the worst of all.
Yeah, those pick up everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Can't
is
win on
this
that.
the right thing to use, or was it not? The vine one?
That's what I
did you say?
use.
Okay.
Yeah. I lay it on its side mostly.
Yeah. I break mine.
Sometimes you have to, like if you feel this, it's not perfectly round anymore. You can feel a
Oh,
flattened
yeah, I
side.
can feel it.
So I sometimes will, that's why I get the lines on that first one, because I didn't kind of just sand it down a little bit, make it a flat
Okay.
thing. Nice. Yeah, and there'd be no light
oh,
Right in there.
between, from the shadow and stuff. There's no light in here between, the shadow and the object. It's gonna be dark there. For sure. Because there's no way for that to reflect back. Same here, this is not good. They can almost blend together. Just check this. Ooh. You guys are
All matches.
moving very quickly. All right, how is this? This is looking good. I think you're all getting the idea quite well. I want to show you sometimes when we think there is, we draw the outline to kind of set up the object so we can see where they are, but there's really no darker line on the back side of that, for instance, that cylinder. What it is the background behind it is a little bit darker.
Huh.
And that what creates the illusion of a line.
That's neat. Yeah.
Right. So what I did is I took my flattened side of my charcoal and I watched this corner up here and ran that right along the edge. I can do that here too. So it already has this nice pre-blended area out around here. And that makes it seem really strong drawing. And if there's a table behind it, you put a table. You put this on a white table. You can draw with your eraser, you're drawing highlights rather than drawing dark areas.
Would you talk about different ways to hold your pencil to shade? So with this, you can move it down here, right? So it will cover, you can use almost the whole, you have to get it at that angle. Is that what? Yeah. And you can turn your paper, see how your lines here, you're going back and forth, which is fine. But if you turn your paper around, you could take this, you know, and run up the edge, and you wouldn't get that little overlap edge or something. Oh. With a smaller paper, you're allowed to turn it around if you want. Yeah. Nice. It's nice, right? Doesn't it feels a nice form to it? It's coming along. And when you get to it, just remember there's no light under there.
It kind of is from here though, because there's two different light sources.
You've got multiple light sources, but we're going to change that shortly. We are going to remove the other light sources pretty quick. So get a fresh piece of paper, and just so you don't get bored, I am going to move things around a little bit.
Oh my God, that's different.
Is it? I don't know.
It just is funny.
I can add a cylinder too. If it's too many elements, remove one or two, ignore one or two. Like over here, I would do these, and don't worry about this sphere here. And this way more, ooh. Somebody's gonna get the end of this cube almost.
Yeah.
I mean, that cylinder directly on. Should I stand it up?
Yeah.
How about up there? Is that better?
Sure.
From the lying down? All right.
Ooh.
And
We're definitely have to work these tables down on mixed
I
media.
know, it's gonna be-
Oh, I can't see. Yeah.
You're right.
see how you can see the shadows more clearly now?
Oh, that's so cool. There's even
Is that
lighter and
in
darker
the way?
shadows.
No, that's fine. How does that look from everyone's? You've got some, you can see that these plastic balls are somewhat translucent, so the shadow underneath is not gonna be totally dark because the light's also passing through the ball and refracting through it. This is a long light, it's not a single source. Like if you were outside and it was in the sun, there'd just be one spot that all the light was coming from. So these objects now are receiving light from this amount of light. So that's why your shadows are not sharp and clear.
Yeah,
See, as I move it away, it's a little clearer.
yeah.
Somebody turn their flashlight on their phone real quick. Who's quick at this?
I'm not.
Open
You
flashlight.
got it, okay, we got it.
She's quick.
Open flashlight.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, look at the sharpness of those shadows
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Even the ball is sharper.
Yeah.
Huh.
So you can see how, thank you. What a beautiful dog, is that your dog? Ah, it's beautiful. So understanding that, we can draw, I'd like to back this off a little bit, but.
So we're still starting by sketching the shape, like with our graphite, and then we switch over.
No, if you're going to charcoal, good, thank you for bringing that up. If you're gonna be doing charcoal drawing with shading, don't start with graphite. Graphite is gonna get shiny and
Yeah.
it dents the paper, and then the charcoal is just gonna skim across that like it was ice.
To use a
So
charcoal
start
pencil.
drawing with a charcoal pencil or your vine charcoal.
Okay.
And go.
It is scary.
Well, then, so you don't, you know, ignore one of these balls,
Right.
whichever, you know.
And you can erase the charcoal with this.
Yes.
Okay.
So start with your lightest charcoal. Make sure you get your three-dimensional shapes very strong first in relationship to each other. So we're gonna start there. Shading comes later. Right now, you're just starting,
I have more of these.
get the
so we can
shapes
use it
and
today.
in
Do you mind if I just take out the
proportion
little
and
Yeah, go
relationship to the other shapes in the drawing.
No worries. Thank you.
Keep a light hand at this point, a very light touch.
Is this?
And then as it becomes closer to what you're doing, you can add more weight. Especially near the top of your objects where it's catching so much light, just hint at where those are going. Because you don't want those dark.
Is this charcoal, can you tell?
It's like graphite.
Okay, I thought so, because it seemed a little.
Yeah, this is the
greasy.
ebony, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
But those are my favorite graphite pencils.
It's very nice.
those,
Yeah,
Because there's no wood in it,
yeah,
it's just all graphite.
yeah.
Yeah, I had to teach myself not to say lead years ago, so. It's not lead. We know why we don't use lead. People used to, why would they,
Oh, yeah.
They always called
Get
it a lead
crazy.
pencil.
well, it started out as lead, but people would touch it to their
Yeah,
tongue to
tongue.
make it sharper or darker or something, and then you'd go,
Well, you know,
"Oh,
the Mad Hatter, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
There was
Yeah.
lead in the wool felt hats.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they spun
In
them
the
like this, so
processing.
they had their hands
Yeah.
Yep.
get a lot.
So-
They would tamp down the edges with their spit, and they always had their hands in
lead
their
and
mouth.
mercury too, is mercury
Yeah,
in the?
Mercury, remember the
Mercury will definitely make you.
the women in the hat factories in New York City, the young girls, they were, yeah, not good.
What was that movie about, the young girls that were working to the
Shirtwaist factory.
radon,
Oh, the yes, that's
radium,
the one I'm
radium,
thinking.
radium
Oh,
girls,
yeah.
That's
yeah,
right, the radium girls.
And they're all
Painting
getting
the-
sick.
Yeah.
Painting the hands on the
Yeah,
watch
and I
faces.
remember having
Yes,
a
that's
watch
Oh,
what
yeah.
it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
glow in the dark, and you could sit there and
Yeah.
look at it. Yeah. I like when film accurately portrays history.
Yeah,
It makes it so much more real and
and books
attainable.
too. When it's,
Yes.
I hate it when they use a different street name for a place or a town. I mean, it just makes me
It
crazy.
just makes it-
Just say it's New York City and live with it. You know, look at a map. Give me some
I watched
streets.
Hidden Figures again. I hadn't seen
Did
that
you?
since it first came out, and I'm like, those women
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
against all odds. And
Yeah.
if they hadn't been there, it would not have happened. The
Boy.
whole space.
And boy, do I feel the. Remember when she had to
She
get in the
had to run to
bathroom? I really felt her pain. Mm.
Keep keeping a very light hand at this point until you're sure that all the things are in relationship to each other. Your vertical lines on the cube are vertical. Don't you hate it when it comes right exactly at the same place?
I kinda like it.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be a challenge. I gotta stay away from that box. It's just
Yeah, from Amy's point of
frustrating
view,
me.
that the sphere and the cone are like one right in front of the other, and they're just, doesn't make for a good composition really, but it's kind of fun. Drawing quickly, you're doing great. Quick light hand. Think through. Doesn't matter if some of your lines show after you've shaded. If you look at Da Vinci, Picasso, Degas, you see their drawing lines. They don't bother erasing them. They figure it out, and if they move an arm slightly, they didn't always erase those other lines. They leave them there. It becomes part of the character of the artwork. It's very good. You could draw bigger though. Okay. At some point.
Yeah, and when you draw without erasing, then you get laser.
Okay.
But you have to just give yourself that assignment.
Yeah.
Isn't that true? If you draw without erasing, you get freer.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. There's tons of exercises. You can start with a line and just never take your pencil off the paper.
Oh, I
and do that.
had a
Right.
class like that.
I mean, that's an exercise to do.
It was
Boy, that's
so
torture.
painful.
That's torture.
And I got paired with the instructor and it was just awful.
I had one instructor, we were doing models and we had, live models. And he switched up how we had to think about it. Okay, you can only draw with shapes, just this size stick, and you can't turn it up to do details.
Wow.
You think about as if there was a string wrapped around the model everywhere in the body and draw the whole body with
Wow.
that circling around and where it goes in and out. And so there's great ways of looking at things differently. I also find because I sculpted so much, part of the reason I'm comfortable with figures and portraits is because I think
Yeah, in
three-dimensionally.
shapes, yeah. Huh.
And that's kind of the beginning of what we're pushing to do here, is thinking that three-dimensional illusion on the people.
Do you have a favorite medium?
Pastel.
Pastel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since for the last 7 years, I really love pastel. It's the most versatile to me. I've done almost everything, but mostly oil, watercolor, pastel. You can combine it with other things. You can keep it thin and make it with a wash, make it look like watercolor. You can build it up thick on sanded paper so it has an impasto like oil painting. Do you do what
No,
pastel?
No, but I admire Andrea's, and she's,
Andrea, yes. Yeah.
Now I'm
She
erasing
does such a
lot.
good
I'm
job.
not-
She came to the figure drawing.
Yeah, she told me.
we did, yeah.
Yeah.
Me not to raise.
We're both on the board.
Trying.
Oh, for Red House?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I was telling somebody about Red House. Oh, somebody wrote me and said that they model and they're looking for places to model.
Oh, okay.
So I told him to contact Red House for one
Oh,
place.
okay.
Because he saw the figure class advertised, and he says, "Are you looking for a model?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
I would love. Do you feel more control keeping it up on its tip rather than laying the fine charcoal on its side?
Yeah, I guess so.
Probably feels more comfortable too because we're used to writing.
Yeah.
But you can see there are so many approaches to it. You see, I do it quickly. I'm so used to laying that down. I like covering large areas faster. I want to get onto the good stuff. It's all good stuff. You can hear the concentration in the room. Actually, more sense it than hear it. Right? It's a house will get a bigger space for models.
Yeah, actually, our space is smaller.
Yeah, that's what I heard, and then she says it's in a room that you have to pass through that room to get to the studio beyond. Well, if you have a neat model, you can't do that,
Right.
right?
Right. But it's not too big a space, so that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, up there on the whole floor. But we're real excited. Our opening's March 15th.
I think I wrote it down.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
I hope you can
I'll
come.
be here then. But I'm not in the area all the time, so it's like, I'd like to be able to find a model situation where I could just pop in when I'm around.
Yeah.
Could you describe what a vanishing point is? Because I feel like if I could get that, I could get a cube that actually looks accurate. I saw a little video on Instagram where someone literally put a pin, like a tack,
Yeah.
and a string.
Mhm.
I'm like, I gotta go try see if that worked. I mean, they are obviously a very skilled drawer, so maybe it wouldn't.
No, it can. Perspective is one thing that people often get. And I'm doing a little bit next week with perspective.
Oh, okay.
I don't like to introduce it too early because people will go crazy. The two most basic forms are 1-point and 2-point perspective.
Okay.
I'll explain this again next week, so keep drawing. So here's your horizon line, and your horizon line is always at the level of your eyes. So if you go down here or up here, it's gonna change.
Yeah.
And if you have, say like railroad tracks is a very common thing.
Okay.
You know, you've got that front beam that's there, sitting here in front of you, and you're standing right in the middle of it. In reality, the railroad tracks look like this if you're looking down from the sky. So these two lines are parallel, those are the rails, and these beams are equidistant.
Okay.
There's a special name for the beams right now, I can't remember. So in perspective, if we're looking at this and imagining those rails going back, as they go into the distance and we go down, like if we're looking down on it and then they go this way, they seem to converge on the same point.
Yeah.
And that's called the vanishing point. So we take, here's this line here, this line is here. So the rails are going back. And then this, there's a mathematical difference here, but they just slowly become closer and closer together as you go back.
Mm-hmm.
For that illusion. You can see I'm drawing at an angle there.
So if you're doing a box, in order to get those parallel lines, it's more like the points, like where the points are before you do the line, is that right?
That's a 2-point perspective.
Oh,
So that's, unless you're looking directly on at the box,
mm-hmm.
that's 1-point perspective. These are parallel, so they'd be slightly converging. It might be more obvious there. That's a bad side. In 2-point perspective, which is where you're looking on the edge of something. Here's the edge, and if you're looking at a box, okay, our horizon line is above. We know the box has these 2 lines here, which are in reality they're parallel.
Mm-hmm.
Those 2 lines would go to the same vanishing point off that way.
Oh. And then we're just doing that next parallel line to the center line to like, because our box really doesn't go all the way.
No,
to
it
a
doesn't go.
point.
We're just indicating that they go out there, and the same on this
Yeah.
other side. And we'll talk
So
about
it's for
this.
getting those angles.
So it's, what you're looking at is, here's a 90-degree angle, the corner of the box, something perpendicular to your line of vision, and the angles that they go off. You start with the base ones, you take them out to the horizon, go out that way, and then we measure the height of this to horizontally, how far out does that other side go? not
Mhm.
like this, we wanna measure out to the side. So, you know, and then we'll say, okay, that's about there, that's about there. Now we know this line and this line and this line are parallel in reality, so that's gotta go back that way. And then this line, and this line. So that puts the block in perspective.
Gotcha.
That's a super quick
Yeah,
explanation.
but I couldn't even figure out really what vanishing.
So if you keep those lines at least parallel,
Mm-hmm.
these that go out, you know, at least keep them parallel, but then think maybe slightly converging.
Okay.
And if you think of like standing in New York City in the middle of Madison
How are we
Avenue,
doing? I'm just gonna look
and then
around.
the buildings are like here, and it gets
Sort
smaller
of at
as
the
you
top
look.
of the,
Right.
Really
the cylinder, 'cause
interesting.
there's like a
Yeah.
Thinking of a
and
street
there's
with,
like a weird
you know,
halo of
buildings
white
on it.
where like the
They
very
did one
top,
of those,
There's an edge right here.
that edge,
So
yeah, how to
if
create.
I
Hopper
had the
did
right
something that
cylinder,
you just feel like you're,
it would be
of course,
a
not
yeah.
flat
around,
top
because
and
there's
it would be
something,
white.
always loneliness.
But this is hollow,
Yeah.
so sorry about
Yeah,
that.
Especially
it's
in
okay,
big
but should I
buildings.
leave like a halo
I had my
of
husband
white
try to show
above
me.
Yeah,
the
you
right
can,
way
but
to
just
do it?
Because
ripping it
here,
out.
yes,
Yeah,
you do
it
that
was like-
little,
there's like a
perfectly
glow.
in perspective.
Yeah,
He
perfect.
draws a lot.
you're seeing really, really well,
just
so
kinda
that's,
get it.
yes,
We
and
did
then
it
the
in
shadow
grade
starts
school
to
with
look.
rulers. We
Because
put
that little
point-
halo is
Yes, a
actually
ruler
the
would
top.
help.
Where's
Yeah.
my-
And she was
Because
saying
just
with
slaughter
yesterday,
bottles. Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
doing
No,
so
this
well
doesn't
with
work
that.
either
I
because
just
it's
can't.
black.
But yeah,
But
it's
if,
really
if the
fun.
cylinder were like
Play.
this,
Yeah.
it would be white. Yeah, she's asking about the cylinder, because it's hollow, it's not what it should be. The top of this should be your highlight, the top of the cylinder, but because it's hollow. I went online a couple days ago, and I'm looking for good, solid, three-dimensional shapes that aren't transparent, that aren't textured. Whoops, I just messed up your drawing. You know, gosh, they have them, but they're 1.5 inches by 3 inches.
Huh?
I'm like, that's too small for a class.
Well, you know, I
You
put
did.
them on my iPad and then I enlarged them
Yeah.
to draw.
But then you're drawing from two-dimensional to two-dimensional rather than from life to your drawing.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
works fine, which, you know,
I guess I'm talking about more that when you gave us the beginning things. And that was really helpful,
It
because
does
I don't want to draw this weird thing.
no.
You need somebody with a wood shop.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
I need to find a woodworker. I need to find a woodworker.
How do you draw an open door?
It's a really flattened cube, right? So. Here's your wall, here's your opening. Here's the door. So depending on how open it is, it's gonna take this shape and put it into perspective. I'm kind of looking, I don't want to be looking down on it. Oh, this is tricky, because our eye level is about here. So the upper, as this opens out, this will go up a little bit. I'm gonna exaggerate it some. But then the lower part of the door, because it's below our horizon, is gonna open down. So this becomes like a side of the door facing us. You know, it's kind of coming out at us. Sorry, this is not a great.
Gotcha.
But there's kind of your open door.
Gotcha.
So it kind of makes sense, if you're taking a flat object this way, and then it, at your eye level, and then it comes out this way, this line is gonna appear to go a little higher out to the distance, and this is gonna be a little lower.
Can you, I'll show you this. This is making me crazy. Shadow of the cylinder.
Right.
It just looks so dumb. Looks like it's
Well, it
floating
kind of
in
fades off.
space.
Remember,
Yeah.
that's because it's got, oh, and, well, let's see. I mean, you got the piece of paper. You could add that in. And look how the paper is lighter here
Okay.
than this board.
Do you come back on?
No.
This comes out, it does fade out.
We just use our.
You're not seeing the edge of the table in your drawing anywhere at all to set it down.
Yeah, I just felt like it was like
Oh.
floating in the air.
But you can,
Yeah, and you can
but then you can't see that back side of this,
Yeah.
the piece of paper. This could be like the edge of your table back here or something, but you don't really see that from your angle.
Yeah, you come in, we have little.
So you can add in the paper that it's sitting on to help it sit down. No, good, okay, you don't have to, you could. All right. Not going there.
We have a starter plastic 6 things and no bags of dirt. You can take
Possibly.
You should come through. Yeah, or send some.
And you can see where it
Yeah,
touches,
yeah.
like it touches here, right, and it comes off it, try to figure that angle that it's coming this way.
Yeah. And, you know, it goes really fast.
Very nice.
But
The
the
cone,
it's looking real good right now.
if you see this corner of the cube
No.
has no
still wanna do
shadow
that.
on it,
Oh.
yeah.
I think
Because the cone shadow will hit in a little bit.
I'm not sure, I
so
can't
that-
remember all the details to do.
Need a better.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see it
Yeah,
now?
I do, thank you.
Still having trouble with the box. So it's
Pretty good.
I mean, it's getting there, but it still looks
Yeah.
like a computer, all of that.
Well, you see less of the top of that, like if
Yes.
you compared how much of the
Yes.
top of it you
It's
saw
showing.
compared to this, it's about a third or a quarter of that size, but that's, don't
Yeah,
worry about
I
it
know,
right
I'll
now.
get there.
Okay, and I like you found, you're seeing that cast shadow, this one. Yeah, this,
Isn't quite.
it starts more
it's-
right
Yeah,
here
it starts more there, right?
and comes down, and then it's a little
More
a
fat.
little fat there, but it also hits the corner of the paper, which
Oh,
you
yeah.
haven't put the paper in, which you don't have to, but sometimes it just gives it something to sit down on.
To sit on, yeah.
Your cone is like, whoa. So when you go to do it, if there's a trouble,
Sort of
try
like
to
me.
keep your, your perpendicular line, and then like, okay, the top of the cone equidistant on both sides, middle part of the cone.
Oh, aren't you brilliant? Of course.
Right? And
Yes,
then you can
thank
do
you.
that. And then it's going to be
The
straight up.
shape.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me illustrate that. Thank you.
Anytime.
I didn't know if I'd done that before. On a cone, or something like a cone, if you start with your plumb line, oh jeez, down the middle, nice straight line down the middle, and you say, okay, the top of the cone, the sides of it have to be equidistant on both sides from the center line. It has to be the same distance out. Down here, maybe that far out, that far out. So that way, you can combine those lines, and it's going to be centered. Whoops. I shouldn't have drawn that line. Where otherwise you might end up with a cone that looks kind of like this, kind of wonky. You find that center, and then here, out, out. Just kind of a little second check, double check on that. Nice. Yeah, this is helping you, right?
Yeah, I'm not even doing that anymore, I'm just trying to.
I
play
see you're
with it.
thinking that, but I,
I thought if lights come in here, the shadow would be like that,
Yep.
but maybe,
this light's coming out from this.
oh.
But I
okay.
can see how thinking that 2D thinking,
Yeah, it's more
finishing
an
point
actual
worked for you.
square. Yeah.
because this you kept getting out.
Wonky,
Like-
yeah.
This goes out that way and it goes out that way instead of kind of coming together.
Mm-hmm.
It's always so dirty. Always looks dirty. It always looks like.
Yeah, this is art,
smeared.
this is what we
It always, the final product is just smeared.
Oh, it's getting smeared.
I'm just curious if that's how it's supposed to be. It's a little bit like
Well, you
glossy,
can, right, I mean, you can lift some of it and stuff. This paper is not, it's pretty good paper, but not great paper. Yeah, it's gonna get that, and we learn to keep our hands up, look at your palm, the heel of your hand.
Mhm.
So that's, I often will brace my other hand
Mhm.
if I need to keep it off.
Okay.
And that's, yeah, now you can, your things are really great in relationship to each other in the proportions. Good, and you can see that under there is just because it's translucent. If that
right.
ball
Normally
was
it would
solid,
be
it wouldn't show
solid.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, keep it in the shadows, good, yes.
So the question is, like, the cylinder is
Mhm.
pretty much in the dark, almost as much as this is in the dark. But
Right,
if you make it all black, then the lines,
well, it's not because on the other side of the cylinder, from your point of view, you can see that the light is hitting the backside of the cylinder, and then look on the cube, it's a little bit lighter up here from where that's reflecting back from the cylinder than it is down here. Right in there, it should be a little bit lighter.
oh. Okay,
And again, that's because the light is coming from the light, bouncing off the backside of the cylinder, back at that cube, at that spot. Yeah, right in there. And then otherwise, the rest of the cylinder is about as dark as that.
but then won't the cylinder disappear into the cube?
Squint down. See, it does.
Mhm.
It does basically disappear, right? That's okay. It does kind of disappear into it.
If I would've, these weren't lined up properly in the beginning, so it kind of threw me
Yeah,
off.
that's,
Mhm.
your relationships are really good. You've included everything. Yep. Very good. So now, once you know that everything's the right form, in the right relationship to everything else, proportions, size-wise and everything, which these are now the shading comes next.
Right, I should have waited to shade until I got this.
Yeah, you wanna make sure
exactly
this
how I
is-
wanted it laid out.
Yeah. You wanna get those forms done first, well, then the shading is like the frosting. Yeah, and you can see really well from yours, this edge of that
Yeah,
cone
it's like
looks so light partially because of what's happening behind it.
the
See how
shadow of the table.
the table, that this area
Yeah,
of the table is dark, and that's what's gonna make that highlight on that edge really
Yeah,
pop,
stand
is
out.
because this is behind it.
Can I ask you about the highlight, the ball? I'm like really confused
Oh,
about my ball. It looks like it has like an arc on top that's light, and then like these two like,
It does because
is it,
that's part of the core, but because it's translucent, the light's going through it,
that's why that's lighter on that
that's
side.
why
Okay.
it's lighter in that central area,
Got
because
it,
it's
okay.
not a solid ball.
So the whole thing really should be darker probably, like
Yeah.
coming towards me.
If you were
Okay.
doing,
Like it looks weird on here, like it looks normal when I'm looking at it, but then when I put it here, I'm like, I feel like I've neglected the middle of my ball.
I mean, that's getting reflected light from out there too, but you
Yeah.
can see that in there it's darker.
Yes, and then the bottom is darker,
Yeah.
like down here, where the core would be.
That's more solid, but even styrofoam is somewhat translucent. I was looking at wooden
You have to get a lacrosse ball, like for sports, it's totally solid.
lacrosse. I was thinking the pool ball, the cube.
Oh,
yeah.
But that's really shiny, but that might work.
Yeah.
And I'd like to, but I could paint it with a matte
Yeah,
paint.
well, lacrosse balls are, use them a lot for, mussels and stuff like that. They're only about,
That's about the right size
Yeah.
too.
and they're very dense.
Are they're a matte finish on
Yes.
it instead of shiny like the
But
cube?
mine's purplish color. I got pink or purple was on Amazon, so I don't know what else. I bet you could find
You
it.
could paint it white,
Yeah.
Paint it
good.
white.
Yeah.
very dense.
Then I gotta think weight, cause I have to keep carrying these things around.
Oh, well, there is
Not that one doesn't,
Not too bad.
it's not heavy, but you get a number of objects to
Oh,
carry
yeah.
around.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like with my pastels, I've got the easel, I've got my pastel box, I've got my whole bag of all the extra supplies. I think
No
it keeps me
word yet.
somewhat in shape.
No word yet on teaching pastels for the spring, summer?
Here,
Yeah, or anywhere.
we're going to do, what did we decide? Drawing it, she feels strongly about the drawing again. And of course, I'll do anything Pam
Of course,
basically asks me
of
to do.
course.
And then the other is, I've forgotten because we just kind of decided on it a couple days ago. Pastels for May, when I'm here in May,
Okay,
I'm gonna be down at
yeah.
Reimagine in Fairview,
Just make it.
which is a smaller venue, but
I think I have this from last time.
that's where, you don't know Andrea. So that's where Andrea went the other day. How are we doing? These are looking great. Good seeing this. Yep.
Right here.
Oh, okay. So you're doing like a 1-point perspective. Good.
Yeah, I
You're
feel
seeing
like-
your relationships and things very well.
I feel like that's what good stopping point. I feel like the more I mess with it, the worse it got.
No, I like that you're seeing the details in here, the slight changes and the reflections and things. No, that's really
It's definitely something to work on.
very nice. Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to take pictures of some of these before you all leave. Good. Yeah, and you picked up that edge, so that looks more like a cone
Yeah.
shadow too. You could probably even get a little darker, some of these shadows in
Okay.
this area if you wanted. Good, good. Look at you being prolific, Amy. You're just
Yeah, she's.
Prolific.
I really like going with the dark, and then I like.
this. You can see the lines in this paper that
Mm-hmm.
very distinct. What kind of paper was it?
Charcoal paper.
It's called charcoal paper, yeah. I have an acquaintance who does portraits and figures. He lives in Taiwan and his paper has kind of lines in it like that. But he's learned to incorporate it in a very interesting texture in his paintings when he does it. I like that. That's tricky.
Yeah,
You
that's-
saw that really well. Thanks. On the objects, you could probably go a little deeper with some of these shadows in here. I think people are pretty much kind of getting to the point of saturation on this one.
Maybe.
I'm trying to pretend lines on this.
How are we doing on time? Anyone?
11:32.
11:30?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I need to write down what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna do a little perspective. I was gonna think, have you bring things in, but people often don't know what for photographs to bring in. And they're pretty gardens and stuff, and that's hard to do with this approach, in charcoal. Let me think about that. Houses, we haven't done much with houses, right?
Coffee mug.
Yeah, it's gonna be more the perspective. I think what else. All right, wanna try another quick one?
No.
Sure. 1, 2. Okay. Anyone want to take a picture from your point of view on that to double check, or?
Yeah.
Okay, enough already.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, ready. I gotta learn how to get big. I think I do it small because I wear big mistakes, small.
Actually, don't need that. We got the paper as the white. Okay. When we're drawing,
Why did you just turn that upside down?
huh?
Why did you just turn that upside down?
Because I think that orange is going to really distract people. It's a simpler form this way. Whoa. Oh, no.
Meaningless.
All right. The cup has decoration on it, right?
Mhm.
You want me to take the flower out?
I like the flower.
You like the flower?
Yeah.
All right. It's Amy's fault.
Yeah.
We'll blame her.
Well, you ought to
Ignore the drawing on the cup. Ignore this. Make this dark. The blue. Now we're looking at different things. Again, the first thing you want to do is get down your basic shapes. This is kind of a hemisphere. Can you see that?
Yep.
Right? If you do the flower, it's kind of a hemisphere. Don't worry about all the little petals. Don't get all hung up in the petals. Keep this very simple dark. The blue bold and the orange. So in colored objects, we're still dealing with highlight, core, reflected light, and shadow, but you can see a matte mug doesn't have the high contrast that somewhere on this dish does. This is a shiny object, and things that are shiny need to have more contrast. The highlight's going to be lighter than the highlight on here. Look at the highlight on the orange. Wow. You almost can't see it because it's a matte surface. So these three objects, especially if you want to add the flower, help yourself. And try to portray their color in black and white, the value of their color while you're also shading. For instance, the white of the paper is that's your whitest white. You can see that the highlight on the orange is already down. The highlight is not a 1. It's like a 3 or 4 just to start with. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's the light gray tone. On the mug, I mean, you've got this, I wish I could black that out, but there's not really any high. The highest highlight is maybe a 4 or 5 or that middle range. So try to see that so we can portray. It's not like working with all white objects. So you need to think a little deeper and just get the forms down first and then start playing with the shading. Again, look, this is interesting with the blue. You can see where the translucence is shining through because it looks blue on the paper.
Mm-hmm. The shadow's so big too.
Yeah.
Want me to make it smaller?
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Look how blue that is.
Yeah, well, you can see through the blue too, and you
Yeah.
can see some.
You see part of the orange.
Now the orange, you draw that bowl, your orange has to sit down in. Drawing tool. Okay. So just real quick, I'm not looking at it, but here's the top of the bowl, here's the base of the bowl. you know, the base it's sitting on, the bowl's sitting here. The orange has to sit down into the bowl, and then you don't see that bottom part of it. Oops, gosh. I'll tell you, trying to draw so you can see and for me to draw halfway decently is really hard. But do you see how it sits down in? So you need to think that X-ray of the ball sitting down inside. Go. We have about 20 minutes, so this is just a quick little try something out, see how it goes. Actually, the highlight on that blue bowl is even lighter than the paper, isn't it? But we don't have time to do those fine distinctions. You know, if you spent 10 hours drawing this, then you could really work those in. Then you start looking at other people who draw like Escher drawings, where he takes a reflective ball and he draws everything in the distortion on that, the convex lens of that ball, and
It's amazing.
and the reflections and the shadows, and you have to really, really look. That's what Da Vinci was best at, I think. He was a scientist as well as an artist, but more a scientist, and he would study things and he'd take things apart. He would sit, he did drawings of birds in flight, and what else was it? Like dragonflies. And he noticed that the dragonfly wings, the four-winged kind, it alternated. What kind of eyesight does a man have to sit there and watch that until he can see it? Back then, I mean, now we can do, you know, slow motion photography, we can do all sorts of other things, but he never had that. And as adults especially, we get so used to things being presented to us, and we've learned all of these years to do something, that to go back to just seeing and studying takes some effort on our part. Interesting here, the bowl, I'm looking at a double shadow thing where it looks like the bowl is has a bump on it in the shadow. And I was trying to figure out if it was the multiple lights here, but what I think it is the bowl goes around and then the shadow cast by that orange is stronger, so it makes it look like a bump. Oops. Because of the refracted light under that bowl that goes through the bowl, this darkest shadow here is from the orange. And it's even orange in the shadow. See, it gets very complex, just black and white. I mean, for beginning of my career, I'm like, wow, black and white is so complex and it's so hard to figure all of this stuff out. How am I ever going to translate this into color on top of value? Value is king. This is a strong saying, but value is king. You want, I don't like saying king. I'm going to come up with a better saying. But people say, yeah, but men aren't going to get that, you know. Value is the top somehow. It's the most important thing. Color is secondary to that. If your values work, then your color can usually fit in, come along. Yeah, value's king.
Could say it's the bomb.
It's the bomb. Values is the bomb, and color is the explosion. What?
I was trying to see where the other one, is it a flower?
It is. Are you gonna do it?
I know I can't tell what it is from here, so I'll leave it out of this one.
Just do a nice oval. It's good. and then just the curve. I mean, I didn't even do, I wasn't looking at this bowl, so I just did a curve of a bowl, which isn't really what that one is. Hello. Real quick, sorry, before you go too far.
Yeah.
This is not in the middle,
I know, I can't get it.
so,
Oh, the plumb line.
yeah. So make that the middle of your,
Got it.
thank you. I'm skipping the flower. Okay. I think you're the only one that can see the mug handle. No, they can see it over there. Okay, the handle on the mug is just decoration, that's not important.
Oh, all right.
It doesn't have anything to do with the form of the mug. But, yeah, if you get it in, don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah, now I see.
You don't worry too much about the flowers.
And I'm going out to lunch.
You get the shape about right. It's kind of an egg shape on this.
We'll see how this goes. I try to draw where the dark is first.
What are you doing? Wow. Oops. Yep. A couple people, my shoes squeak when I walk here. On the bowl, and you've already got it down, I know, but just for future information. If this is the kind of the top of your bowl, find the center of it. And that's where the base of the center of the base has to be there too. So you need that to be equidistant on both sides of the base. This came out too far, that's that one. Then that's gonna help you keep the bottom of the bowl under the bowl by finding that middle, the plumb line again, even though it's very shallow. You find your thinking adjusting as you're working on colored objects instead of the white ones?
Yes.
It has to, right?
I'm trying bigger.
Yes, you're right. Nice, good. And I see you kept this on the other side.
Yeah.
Remember, yeah, I said at the beginning, like, Sylvia could run into this with your right hand.
Right.
Where if you would turn the paper over then and kept the spiral away from the direction your hands come.
Yeah, you probably don't want yours turned the same way mine is, because you're right-handed. I'm left-handed, so it's here, so it's not blocking me from drawing.
It's
Yeah.
not,
Is it
right,
out
not,
here?
not now, but you can see that this.
Yeah, right.
Kind of.
Right.
That was a major discovery for me.
Just future, tuck it away.
I thought about that.
It's more shallow.
Yeah, I know, that's the, I looked at it and I'm like,
Yeah.
so it's gotta be like.
So the
Up
the
there.
back part of the back part of the base of this curve is almost at the same height as the front of the top curve.
Mm.
Can you see that? Okay.
Not nice.
So you're seeing almost, it's almost
Right up there,
under in
got
there.
it,
Yeah.
got it, I see what I'm
Do you
doing.
like to
Okay,
paint,
thank
or do
you.
you like to paint, or do you like to?
Wow.
I dabbled in things, but I'm more adult.
I admire everybody's taken art. I wish I had done that when I was in school.
Tell me to.